Well, good morning, Freedom Church family. Hey, it's so good to be in the house. Can we welcome everyone in our family that's joining us online? Come on, give it up for them. At Rising Sun, come on, Rising Sun, where you at? Middle River and our Kenya fam. It's so special when we get to all be together with one heart here this morning. If we haven't gotten to meet, my name is Bethany, and like Pastor Joey said, we just wrapped up an amazing 2 weeks between Awaken and Camp, and we're in week 2 of 21 days of prayer, and I'm telling you, none of this is by accident. God is doing something in us because he wants to do something through us throughout our fall and in our region, and I cannot wait to just get to be a part of that, right? And honestly, my favorite thing in these past couple of weeks has just been to step back and to watch these little kindergarten kids learn what it means to worship, to hear that we had 10 Freedom students getting baptized in the pool at student camp. Come on. That's amazing to watch these college kids around and just want to be together in community. I brought along just one story for those of you that couldn't make it to hear what God is doing. They're going to throw this picture up of Chloe right here from the Bel Air campus. She's going into the 5th grade. I love this picture because in this picture, she chose to be reading her Bible when she could have been swimming. And the face mask just makes it all the way better, right? But this is what her mom said. She said, Chloe had so many wonderful things to share about camp. She absolutely adored her leader, Caitlin, which Caitlin's right here on the front row. Let's give it up for Caitlin. She made lots of friends. Chloe's been reading her Bible and journaling on her own since returning from camp. She is on fire for Jesus, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Chloe has also found freedom in worship and is not afraid to lift her hands to Jesus. Thank you to each person. I pray God's blessing and favor over each of you. Thank you. Come on. That is what God is doing in kids like Chloe. And those things, her learning to independently and personally seek after him, we know. It's not just fruit for right now, it is fruit for years to come. So from the bottom of our hearts, from the dream team, from our staff, thank you families for trusting us so much with their care. We do not take it lightly. We know it was a financial sacrifice, right? And we just want to say thank you. It makes a difference. Now, my whole life, fun fact, I've pretty much been around kids my entire life. It's kind of funny how God just prepares you for the things you don't know you're going to do one day. I grew up in a really big family. I'm the youngest of 18 grandchildren. Yes, 18. God bless those people and my mom. But just to give you a little picture, there was an age gap. So when I was about 7, all my older cousins were just starting to have kids. So I really had all these little second cousins around me all the time because we were a pretty tight family. I was really blessed to have that. We had Tuesday night dinners at my mom's house, right? We went to church together, most of us, and so we got to grow up around one another. So naturally at my age, as I got a little older, I became the family babysitter, right? I loved it. They loved it. My bank account loved it. It was great. Now, anytime I would babysit, I'm just kind of the person that likes to have fun. If we're going to do something, then let's make it fun. So the crafts and the cupcakes I would bring were really more for me than it was for them. I mean, even to this day, I'm meeting to talk about spreadsheets. That sounds terrible. How about we take that spreadsheet to the new coffee shop down the road? You know what I'm saying? I just want to have fun. And one of the most requested games when I would babysit was the classic, none other, hide and go seek. And there was one family in particular, they're going to throw up a picture, that was called the Line Weaver family. These were my 5 little second cousins. They're so grown. They're so cute right now, right? But when they were little, they loved to play this game. Now, there's a little disclaimer here, warning, okay, before you judge me. Before I go further in the story, I just want you to know, I'm not the kind of girl that always lets kids win. I'm just not that girl, right? Hello, my name is Bethany. I like to win games. Pray for me. But when we would play hide and go seek, so I would look for the best spot. And there came a time with the Line Weavers, they had a good house for this too, where I found the spot. I found the spot that they could never, ever find me. I mean, I would watch the shadow of their feet run across the floor. They would call my name. They would even try to play tricks on me. They thought they were so smart to come out of the hiding spot like they weren't there. I don't know what they were thinking, right? And they could never find me. And this was a legit game because when I say that this game went on for years, it went on for years. I was probably about 14 when we started playing this game. Today I'm 27, and just this year, in 2023, they were at a game night at my house, and they kept asking me the question, come on, Bethany, tell us where your hiding spot was. And I finally just told them. I finally did. Do you want to know where my hiding spot was? Yeah, I know you do. The last gathering did too. It's not that great, but it was good. It worked. They had this closet in their bedroom. It was their mama's closet. Sorry, Lauren. She's going to kill me for this one. And when you would go into her double-door closet, she had all the clothes, right? And then she had all the junk on the floor. So what I would do is I was walking the closet. I would move everything out. I would wiggle myself all the way back into the corner of the closet, make sure the clothes were in front of me, and then anything that was on the floor, I would throw it over my head, and I was just like this pile in the back of the closet. They would open the doors, Bethany! And they just could not find me. It was epic. And so today I want to title this message, Hide and Go Seek. You say that, hide and go seek. Because there are some of us in the room today that were looking for something. We're looking for an answer. We're in the middle of a situation and we're not really sure what the next right thing is to do. We're asking, maybe waiting on God's direction. We want to live out our purpose for Him, but we feel uncertain and we might feel a little stuck. And maybe for you, it feels like you're like, I'm asking, and I feel like the answer is hidden somewhere around this house in the dark. Some of us are seniors in high school and we're getting ready to submit college applications for the next year, and we're wondering, I got some on the front row. How in the world am I supposed to know what college to go to? How do you make that choice? Some parents, they're like, Christian education or public education, am I right? Some of you might have kids in your household that they're really not liking church right now. And you're like, do I force them to go? Right? Do I push them? Do I not force it? Will they hate it? Some of you may have just gotten a call with some news that you weren't expecting, and you kind of feel stunned, like you can't move, and you're not really sure how to respond. We need an answer. We need to know what's the right next thing. And the truth is that the answer, it's not always black and white, is it? If all the choices were a path around you, you're standing in the middle looking around like, which way do I go? And what we really need is wisdom. Everyone say wisdom. Wisdom to know which path to go on. And we know that wisdom, it's not about being smart. It's not an intelligence level. It's not something you gain from a book or an online tutorial on YouTube. It just doesn't work like that, although I think sometimes that's really what we want, like, give me the answer. This kind of wisdom can only come from God. You see, there's a difference between worldly wisdom and godly wisdom. Godly wisdom is a shepherd boy named David walking in the middle of a battlefield, standing up to a 9-foot giant that nobody else could defeat, knowing that, no, I don't need a sword, I don't need the armor, I need the sling and the stones in my hand to be able to defeat him. He had godly wisdom because true wisdom is the ability to discern God's perspective. So if you're taking notes today, write that down because we're going to talk about it a lot. Wisdom is the ability to discern God's perspective in the situation. And when we exercise godly wisdom, we'll walk down the paths that He has for us. And I have good news. David and you and me, we all serve the same God. So if He was able to find it, then we can find the answers too. Why does wisdom matter so much? Well, we base our choices off of wisdom. And our choices, every single one, has some kind of effect. Our choices determine the kind of life that we live, the kind of path that we are going to walk down. It's the difference between living the abundant life and the path that God has set apart for us and living the life that the enemy would prefer us to live in the dark, alone, afraid, not sure, stumbling around, right? And I don't know about you, but I want to be on the path that God has for me. The problem is that in the world today, when we look at these paths and choices that we have to make, there's a common phrase that's used and we say, follow your heart, right? In other words, live in the moment. Do what you feel. You do you, boo. Like that's what we say, right? And people will actually use this phrase to judge their life choices, whether they're good or not. They'll say, the heart wants what the heart wants. In Pastor John Mark Comer's book, Live No Lies, he actually traces this phrase back to its origin of when it was first said. It came from a man who cheated on his wife, get this, not just with another woman, but with the stepdaughter, right? The daughter of his wife. Nobody, Christian or not, would say that's okay. And when he was asked to respond to the situation on TV, he literally says, the heart wants what the heart wants. Yet somehow that phrase stuck to our culture, and we use it as a judge, as a guide. But Jeremiah says the human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? Now, Jeremiah is not talking about the actual blood-pumping heart, right? What he's talking about is our soul, our thoughts, our emotions, our own will. And in our Freedom Group curriculum, we learn that the soul is actually our battleground here on earth. And we have a choice, right? We were made to live with our soul under the submission of God as our Father. God is our authority. But now we have free will, so we can choose. Am I going to let my soul, my feelings, my thought, my emotion be my God, little g, or am I going to put it under the submission of capital G, big God, the way that it was intended to be in the first place? And we battle with truth, right? I'll say this, because I've done it. Living by the guidance of your soul, it'll probably bring you happiness. It will. It'll bring you a temporary pleasure. You can probably get by for a good while like this, but it will not last. Because one day you will wake up realizing that you are lost. It will lead you down paths you're not meant to go down. And like I said, you might feel all right in the moment, but then you kind of think like, I'm stumbling around, right? You ever drove past something? You ever been on a road trip and you're like, wait a second, I just passed that. And you're like, uh-oh, right? You're kind of driving around in circles. Why am I here again? Why? Because you're walking around in the dark. Think about it. If you entered a house that was pitch black, what would you do? There's no light. You gotta go to one specific spot. What you would do is put your hands out, right? You would feel your way. You would touch the items around you, and you would base your path off by what's around you and what you feel. But what's going to happen eventually? You have no way of knowing if you're headed in the right direction, whether you're walking in circles. You stumble. You're going to hit your toe. Nobody likes that. And let's be honest, the dark is scary. You're walking around in the dark. But I have good news for you today, because there is a man, and his name is Jesus. We also can call him Jehovah, my God, that is standing in the dark with you. And if you will call on his name, he will run to your aid. He will come to your side, and he will help to light your path to his way, to his direction. But we have to submit to his direction. He wants to, but you got to let him. So here's the foundation that we're going to lay today, and we're going to base everything off this foundation. Write it down. Seek the giver, not the gift. Seek the giver, not the gift. Did you know that asking God for things is absolutely okay? It is. In fact, in Matthew, he tells us to do it. He said, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you'll find. Keep on knocking and the door will be opened to you. Keep on. Everyone say, keep on. I mean, think about it. When you first show up to somebody's house, right, not really knowing them, you're probably going to come in your best, right? Boys are like, I'm going to impress their mom. I'm going to wear my best clothes. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be inside hustling around, trying to get everything clean for you. Come on, we all do it, right? But imagine if you just kept on going to that house. Right? So the first visit to maybe like the 50th visit, somewhere along the way, you get to the place where you show up in your pajamas from last night, in your pajamas and your sweatpants. You walk in, you don't even have to knock. You just go in, you open the fridge, and you got to eating their last night's leftovers, right? How did you get there? Well, you got to know them. You established a relationship with them, and it's the same thing with Jesus. It is okay to come unsure to him. It is okay to feel maybe a little awkward, not really sure how to do this thing, right? It's okay to ask for some things, But I promise you this. He says keep on, because if you will keep on coming, if you will keep on showing up, if you will keep coming to the giver, then I'm telling you right now, he's going to give you everything you need. And you're going to discover that the thing you were asking for is nothing in comparison to him, and getting to know who he really is, the actual treasure in our life. Because what will he do as we get to know him? Well, he makes us more like him. He refines our thoughts, our emotion, and eventually gives us the ability to see like him. And remember, wisdom is the ability to discern God's perspective. And if we want to see God's perspective, then we actually have to get to know his perspective, right? It's in God's presence that we find truth. I hear people say, I've tried, right? God doesn't speak to me. Like, it does not work. And nothing will anger me more than that, because I'm telling you, that is such a lie from the devil. In fact, he's already spoken to you. It's called the Bible. That is the book for me. He wrote you a love letter, and it's not just for some people. It is for all people. So we can't say God didn't speak to me when he wrote a lot of words right here for you already. I know there's a lot of controversy over this book, and if you feel that way, it's okay. You are so welcome here. But there is no other book in all of history that could be written by over 40 different people over a span of 1,500 years or more that would be this cohesive and never contradict itself. This is a gift from our Father to us. He spoke to us. And when we feel in the dark, seeking, looking, asking, it tells us this, that your word, your truth, is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. So when I'm stumbling around the dark, I can seek God, who is truth, by reading the words he already gave me, and it will light my path. I'm going to tell you, it may only be one step at a time. Like, what's the next right thing? Show me, Lord. Follow the truth. But he will guide you down the paths that were meant for you. Come on, it feels dark in your school. Get the lamp out and learn that God has good plans to prosper me and to bless those around me, right? Not sure how to respond to that mean text? Oh, get the lamp out. It will show me the path of forgiveness and how to have mercy for those around me. Your mama is sick? Get the lamp out. It will show you how to experience God's peace that surpasses all understanding in the middle of it. This is not the kind of wisdom that the world will offer you. It is not. It is different, but it is special. It's the kind of wisdom that, like David, wins wars. I think where it gets hard, though, is like we're in the middle of a situation and we're like, great, I know to go to the Bible. Been taught that my whole life. So we're like, I have a very specific situation. Okay, God, do it, right? Give me the answer, but keep on seeking, right? And he's going to get you to that place, because sometimes it feels like this. I got 2 doors. Now, both of these doors can honor God, right? Both of these options and choices that I have before me will set me up to worship him and glorify him. But we get stuck, don't we? Like, I don't know which one to choose. How do I know? Am I going to lose God's favor? And I'm not going to be following his will for my life? And let me set you free with this statement today. Wisdom is less about which door you choose and more about the kind of person walking through the door. Wisdom is less about which door you choose and who you are as a person walking through the door. Because when I seek the giver, I get to know him. When I get to know him, I can be more like him. When I'm like him, I now have the ability to see his perspective. And when I can see his perspective, I can make the wise choice. So no matter where I'm at, no matter what my choice is, if I am being like him, I can make the wise choice, and my feet will be set on the path that he has for me. So walk through door A, walk through door B. If they're both options that glorify him, and trust, just be like him. Seek him in it, and he will guide you. And remember, the whole point of the game of hide and go seek is to be found, right? Now, I was kind of mean hiding from those kids, right? But think about a good father who's going to play hide and go seek with his little children. What is he going to do? He's not going to hide in a place that he can't be found, right? He's going to, in fact, I do this with my little daughter, Nora. She loves to play this game, and I don't go hiding where she's not going to find me. No, I literally run to the living room, and I do this. right? I'm in plain sight because I cannot wait for the moment that she finds me and she laughs and she says, found you, run, and runs away, right? I want that moment with her, and God wants that moment with us. He wants to be found. He's not hiding in a place that you can't find him. He's pretty much in plain sight. You just need to call his name and he will run to your side. Now that we've laid this foundation, I want to give you three things. Say three things. Three things that are going to help you down your path. Number one, set your eyes on the eternal prize. I like to rhyme. Set your eyes on the eternal prize. You know, true wisdom is not a what, it's a who. It's found in God. But when we seek him, did you know, I love this, that there are prizes along the way? There really, really are. The Bible tells us that one day, even that those of us who put our trust, our faith, our hope in Jesus Christ and live for him, one day we're going to get to a place called heaven. And I don't know about y'all, but I can't wait to get to heaven. And when we get there, he's going to crown our head with jewels and things that we did for him. We're going to lay it down at his feet. And I'm telling you, it's about our heavenly treasure. It's about that moment when we get there and he says to us, well done, my good and faithful servant. This is our real prize. And we all have a prize that our eyes are set on. Sometimes we really know what they are, and sometimes we may be living unintentionally hunting for them. But whatever our eyes are on, whatever prize we are looking ahead on, will steer the direction of our choices towards it. Think about it. When you're focused on getting to a destination through your app, right, on your phone, of course you're going to pick the roads that get you there the quickest, right? You're not going to take other roads. So whatever we're focused on as our prize, we'll choose the paths we take to get to that prize the quickest, right? And none of the other paths are going to matter. So what prize are you living for? It is possible to say you want to know the giver and really mean it, but if your prize isn't set on his prize for you, you're going to live distracted, right? Trying to get that earthly prize instead of the eternal prize and missing out on what he has for you. So how do we know? Well, I got a few questions to help evaluate. Maybe close your eyes. Number one, what do you think about the most? What keeps you? Is it your kids? Is it worry about what people think of you or say about you? Is it your bank account? Is it how well you performed on a test or a project? Is it fun adventures and what vacation is going to come next? What thing or things do you spend your excess money on the most? What crushes you when not received, or what sends your emotions on a spiral when you don't get it? Could that be your prize? You can open your eyes. A couple examples. If my prize is being loved by people, then I will choose to listen to what people say instead of what God says. If my prize is living with constant happiness, then I will choose to throw my money at anything that brings me happiness. Remember that our choices determine the kind of life that we will live, the path that we go down. But if my eyes are set on the eternal prize, then I will base my choices, in other words, my paths, on the things that get me closer, and that is living with true wisdom. You're looking for an answer about what to do with that kid that doesn't like church? Well, let me ask you, what choice is going to get you closer in that situation to your eternal prize? You're looking for an answer on how to respond to that relational conflict? What choice is going to get you closer to the eternal prize? Set your eyes on the eternal prize. Number two, tune your ears to the right voices. I remember the day I was 19 and I first started working here at Freedom. And in that first year, it became incredibly clear to me that I didn't have what it took, to be honest. Only God did. And so I began to pray for wisdom. I was like, God, I need your wisdom. I need your hand. I don't think I can do this. And so I started to listen to some sermons, right? Some leadership podcasts. And I'll never forget the day that I was listening to a leadership podcast by Pastor Craig Rochelle. And he literally gave me this profound thought. This is what he had to say about being wise. He said, if you want to be wise, then you need to learn to ask questions. Ask questions. Pastor Craig, with all this ministry experience, you're telling me you're not going to give me the formula for wisdom? You're telling me I got to ask questions? Come on. But can I tell you that this single, simple truth has changed my life forever? It really has. I started writing down questions. Sometimes I would go into my weekly meetings with my boss, Pastor Mark, and I would have these questions that kind of felt silly to me. And sometimes, to be honest, I hope he's not watching, I would ask them, and sometimes I wouldn't because I was afraid. They felt kind of silly, but I learned to open my mouth and say, what would you do with this situation? What do you think about this? I think this, and I'm telling you, I learned how to steward resources. I learned how to lead people, all because I opened my mouth and I brought community around me and I asked some questions. I think this is harder than we really know, right? Because come on, TikTok's full of, anybody like those cleaning videos? This is how you should, yeah, right there. This is how you should clean your bathroom. I'm not gonna lie, I love them, right? The Insta Reels are this is how to, right? Have it all together. When is the last time, honestly, that you saw somebody post a video of hey bro, I don't know what to do. Can anyone help me, right? We just don't see those. That's not common because our world says, get it together. You should know the answers. And so we live with that mentality, and what happens is it causes us to isolate ourselves because we think we should just know. But Proverbs says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility, everyone say humility, comes wisdom. We have to become humble enough to ask and then listen if we want to find the right wisdom, right? But the thing is we have to ask the right people. Proverbs also says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Obviously, in this illustration that God has given us, you have to have two pieces of iron, and they have to meet in order to become sharper, right? In order for that friction to happen. And I think what God is trying to teach us is that, one, we need other people. We need to be together to actually become better, to become wise. But two, it has to be iron against iron, the same. Sometimes what happens is we're taking our piece of iron and we're trying to sharpen it against a piece of wood that's not like us. And when you sharpen iron against wood, it becomes dull and it becomes ineffective, right? It cannot be used for its actual purpose. And this is what happens when we surround ourselves with others who are not on the same path that we are, who are not living for the same eternal prize. I'm not saying that you're looking for perfect people. We are not. We're just looking for people who are seeking after the giver just as we are, right? So who has God put in your proximity? Let me tell you, here's an easy answer. This is why we are always saying, join a group. Everyone say, join a group. Come on, it's not about numbers. This is not about forcing you into a system or making you do something else so it looks good on us. This is God's idea for his church and for your life, to live in community, to ask questions, to get around one another. Come on, how many people are in the room that have been in a group and agree with this? You needed this, and right there, you needed this to become wise, to help you down your path, to light your way, right? And it just so happens, I did not plan this, but today we are launching groups. Y'all ready for some groups this fall, right? We got a variety of groups, okay? Some people are studying the Bible. Some people are hiking. Some people are cooking. Some people are let's just talk about Sunday's message. Get in that group's catalog, myfreedom.org or the Freedom app. Go in there. And let me tell you something. If there's nothing in there for you, then here's your answer right here. Take it. Just trust it. Lead a group, right? He knew it. Lead a group. Because I'm going to tell you, I've learned that a great leader is not the one with all the answers. They are not the people that have it all together. That's called pride. A great leader is the one humble enough to learn from everyone around them. So lead a group. Join a group. That's why that little girl, Chloe, I talked about earlier, right? That's why her life is different. Because at kids camp, when you come, it's not just an hour and 5 minutes a week. You actually get 67 Sundays all packed together in a matter of 3.5 days together with her group, with her leader, with her peers, learning about them together. And because she had that community around her, good leaders, good friendships, she could get to the places at the feet of Jesus because they were helping her to guide along her path. You could be one group away from the wisdom, the answer that you are looking for. God will do it if you will say yes. And honestly, if we don't intentionally choose the right voices around us, then the wrong ones will become loud and lead us down the paths we were not meant to go on. Number 3, last one. Stay faithful to your path. Earlier I mentioned the shepherd boy David and how he had the wisdom to know to use stones to defeat a giant. But I want to come back and I want to show you something. So 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 38, it says this, right before he's going to beat this giant, it says, then Saul gave David his own armor. He was the king. A bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the sword over it, and took a step or two to see what it was like, for he had never worn such things before. Listen to this. He says, I cannot go in these, he protested. I'm not used to them. So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them into his shepherd's bag. Then, armed only with his shepherd's staff and sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. Jumping down to verse 48, what happens? As the giant moves in closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hits the Philistine giant in the forehead. The stone sinks in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down to the ground. And that day, they won the battle. You see, when David tried to put the armor of King Saul, which, let's be honest, nobody would blame him for that, right? Like going into a battle, put some armor on, get your sword. That kind of feels like duh. But you see, it's not what David was used to. You see, he was a shepherd boy, one of the lowliest jobs you could possibly be. He was out in the wilderness just tending to the stinky sheep. And what did he need out in the wilderness? He needed a staff, right? He needed his sling, his shepherd's bag. He already knew because he had fought some of the lions and the bears out in the wilderness. So here's the thing. It wasn't like David was coming to fight the giant. No. You see, his dad said, hey, I need you to take this lunch to your brothers. And so he was like, okay, he was faithful. And he walked on the path that God had for him. And when he got there, I want you to notice these 3 things. Number 1, right, as he was just faithful on his path, number 1, he hears the mockery of the enemy and he's like, whoa. He knew what was true. He could see God's perspective because in the wilderness, he was already seeking the giver. He already knew the truth of the giver. So when he gets there, he's like, absolutely not. I know what my God says about my enemies. Number 2, along the way, his brothers who he brought lunch to actually tried to say, you have a wicked heart, David. Get out of here. But he knew the right voices to listen to. Otherwise, he would have bolted right in that moment. If someone said that to me, I think I would have want to leave. You know what I'm saying? He knew the right voices. And number 3, he was just being faithful to the path that God had already laid out. And because he was faithful, God used that path before he got to this moment where he needed wisdom. He used the wilderness, the things before, the things he was learning as a shepherd boy to be able to defeat a giant that nobody else could defeat. That is wisdom. And I'm telling you, if you will stay on the path that God has for your life, even if it feels lowly, it feels dirty, it feels not great, you don't love it, if it is the path that God has for you, you just keep on. Because he's going to teach you things, he's going to show you things that you're going to need one day, and that is how we gain true godly wisdom. Stay faithful to your path. Would you stand with me? There are some of us in the room where we can hear all of this today and probably agree with it, right? We probably say, yes, I got it. But the truth is, going back to that illustration in the beginning, we're standing in the middle and we've got all these paths around us, right? And we might even know what the right one is to do. But I'm telling you, there is one thing that will hold you straight in the middle. It will paralyze you. It will keep you from moving, and that is fear. I have lived this way. I live sometimes with a fear of failure so heavy on my life that I can't even see the way out. Because the fear, it's dark, right? It's not the truth. It's from our enemy. It's like walking in the dark. And I know there's somebody else in this room where you're like me. You've got a fear to fail, a fear of what's gonna happen, and it is paralyzing you to even take a step in the right direction. And I want you to know today that there is nothing in your ability that you have to do. It is not about the things that you have to rely on yourself to know. Remember, wisdom comes from who? It comes from our God. It comes from our Jehovah. So when I feel paralyzed by that fear, what do? I call out the name. I call out Jehovah. I recognize that He has all I need. Jehovah Nisi, He will win. He will fight my battles, right? He will heal those parts of me. So today I want you to put your hands up like this, all across this room. Let's surrender and let's begin to sing and declare the name over the things that we need answers for, over the situations that we are facing. Jehovah has all we need.
Over Nisi, fight your battle.